A local rally against healthcare privatization as part of a province-wide day of action. Good evening and thank you for joining us. Close to 100 people attended that rally in the city today to protest against privatization in Ontario.
It's part of a province-wide movement to pressure the government into keeping healthcare services in the public system. Lee Noonan was there. She joins us in studio. Lee.
Thank you, Ryan. Protesters here are angry and disappointed with the Ford government's handling of the healthcare file, particularly since the pandemic. Many are healthcare workers themselves, some are patients, and others attended as a show of solidarity. Protesters gathered at the Service Ontario building on James Street to raise their voices against the privatization of healthcare. They say funding private services is drawing resources away from the public system and making the shortage of healthcare workers even worse.
In a perfect world, we're going to finance the system that we have enough so that you're going to attract those qualified people to the system, right? Why are we paying more to attract people outside of it instead of putting those dollars into the system that we need right now so that we can work alongside each other, side by side, making the same wage, making a fair living wage, and making sure that we can take care of our clients and our patients appropriately.
Candice Shirk represents roughly 2,000 local healthcare workers through the SEIU. She says more and more of them are leaving the field because they aren't supported enough in their roles or because their wages just aren't keeping up with the rising cost of living. Cheryl McSweeney is VP of Political Action for Ontario Nurses Association Local 73 and represents more than 1,200 local RNs. She says a lack of funding directly affects the hospital here.
It means that instead of having a full nurse complement on a shift, you might be short 1 or 2 nurses on that shift because the government isn't funding for the staff.
The rally was organized by the Thunder Bay chapter of the Ontario Health Coalition, which coordinated rallies around the province. They say the list of services the Ford government wants to privatize is growing and that across the province, patients are paying for services that should be covered under OHIP.
You talk to anybody that needs health care, there's a shortage of doctors. We've had a couple of emergency room closures in Marathon and Red Lake. And we just see that as the beginning of more and more closures because of shortage of staff and doctors and nurses.
Aside from keeping public dollars in the public system, Tupker says they also want to see healthcare funding increase in general. According to Statistics Canada, Ontario has one of the lowest per capita rates of healthcare funding of any province. Lee Noonan, TBT News.
The Thunder Bay rally was one of a number of them that were held across the province today.
Of course, the largest took place in Toronto. Sean Leithong picks up the story there.
They came by the thousands to the lawn of Queen's Park, demanding that the Ford government reverse course on healthcare privatization.
The solutions are here in front of us.
Natalie Mera, executive director of the Ontario Health Coalition, says privatization does not solve the current state of Ontario health care.
The Ford government is just driving the public health system into the ground. There are now millions of people who cannot get a family doctor. Staff have left. We have the worst staffing crisis we've ever seen. Local hospitals are closing down.
What do we want? Healthcare! When do we want it? Now!
Led by members of the provincial New Democrats, protesters marched up University Avenue from Nathan Phillips Square, many sharing concern for their own healthcare service.
When my doctor is sending me notes to say I'll have to be paying for some things that I need for my medical conditions, that's trouble.
Traveling from all across Ontario, sharing their frustration with the state of the system.
In Fort Erie, our hospital has been turned into an urgent care, so we have to go 20 minutes out of our way for any emergency services.
I live a block and a half from the hospital, but it's not open.
This group from Chelsea says their hospital hours of operation have decreased in the past year.
I'm furious. My husband had a heart attack 2 years ago. And now, if he has another heart attack, it's going to be an hour to care.
The Ford government first announced that the province would allow for more private clinics in order to help with the backlog in surgeries in early 2023. Today, the health minister was asked about the rally.
I think we have an organization that is satisfied with the status quo, and frankly, our government is not.
Jones points to cataract surgery as an example of a backlog that's come down thanks to private clinics.
We want to expand access in the province of Ontario. We want to make sure that people who want to have access to a primary care clinician have that opportunity.
But union leaders and advocates say the decision is leading to a fundamental shift that's creating the very cracks in the system we see now.
Because the provincial government is spending our money to open private hospitals that will rip resources out of the system. It's the absolute wrong direction, and people aren't going to let the Premier get away with it.
Our public health care, and as Canadians, not Ontarians, Canadians must cherish the value of the system. So to see it under such disrepair and deliberate privatization is very troubling.
And this group fears that the system is going in the wrong direction.
And that was CTV's Sean Leathong reporting. Ontario high school students must be literate in reading and in writing at a grade 10 standard in order to graduate.
And starting next year, they'll also have to be financially literate. CTV's Janice Golding has those details.
Education Minister Stephen Lecce was at the Toronto Stock Exchange for today's opening bell, ready to make a big announcement about financial literacy.
We're elevating the importance of financial literacy as an equal prerequisite in order to graduate. Yes, you must be able to read and write in this province. You also have to have financial literacy.
They will come to appreciate how time and compounding work when saving money. However, if they owe money, they can destroy a financial plan.
The province says starting in 2025, high school curriculums will be changing. Grade 10 math will involve financial literacy. The ministry saying students will learn how to manage a budget, save for a home, and protect themselves from fraud. Students will be required to achieve at least a 70% grade to graduate.
These sound like wonderful changes. I think it's important to keep up with what's going on in society. As long as there's prep for it, I think that 70% is attainable.
Yes, it will help and they'll learn.
In the first major overhaul of the high school curriculum in 25 years, the province says it will also be bringing back home economics, part of a back-to-the-basics approach to the classroom.
Too many parents and employers and students themselves tell me that young people are graduating without the sufficient financial literacy or those basic life skills.
Home economics will help students understand the money mistakes that they may be making but shouldn't be.
Lecce says the objective is to ensure students graduate with practical learning that leads to better jobs and bigger paychecks.
I'm a parent. I have 3 kids, and yes, I'm with that. Yes, I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, I love the idea. I think kids need to learn how to manage their money properly. It's really important, especially with all the costs today and how high they are, because I don't think those are going down anytime soon.
The province says it will also modernize guidance and career education to respond to the way various professions have evolved over the last decade, and that's starting next year. New career coaches with direct experience in high-demand sectors will complement the work of guidance counselors. Janice Golding, CTV News.
More than 1,000 graduates from Lakehead University received their hard-earned degrees today. The first 2 convocation ceremonies were held at the community auditorium, one in the morning and one this afternoon. Many of the grads started at LU just after the pandemic hit, so it's been a rocky journey to get to this day. This was also the first convocation for new LU President Gillian Siddall. Among the special guests this afternoon was War Child Canada founder Dr. Samantha Nutt, who received an honorary doctorate of humane letters, and Dr. Yaro Kokalik, who was given the title of Fellow of the University. We spoke to some of the graduates about what this momentous day means to them.
Years of hard work finally paying off and being able to celebrate with my fellow graduates.
All right. And how hard was it the last 4 years?
It was difficult, yeah. I took a couple breaks, but I got it done.
It's gone really well. I think especially being a music major, music is very it's such an interesting degree because there's no set clear path. So it's been a lot of exploration within myself of what I want to do with music and what I want to achieve in the future.
Day means that I'm finished my long 5 years of work, which is pretty exciting for me. My parents are here to watch me finish up, which is great.
It's a nice celebration of our 4 years that we spent at school, and with COVID and everything, it's nice that we actually got to see it through and be here with everyone today to celebrate.
Yeah, I think being here all together is awesome. We've been roommates for 4 years with our friends, and it's been a great time. So, yeah, the end of an era.
The third and final convocation ceremony goes tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock with another 600 LU grads set to receive their degrees.
Meanwhile, a group of pro-Palestine demonstrators held a rally outside the LU convocation events today. They're hoping to convince the university to make sure none of its investments are in corporations that supply arms to the war in Gaza. A few dozen people gathered to send a message to Lakehead officials to disclose and divest from all businesses and banks that profit from the attacks on Gaza. Organizer Andrew Wilson says LU has nearly $200 million in investments and endowments, and an open letter to the university about Palestine has already been signed by 150 students and 100 faculty members. Wilson says along with spreading the message, they also made sure to cheer for all the graduates outside the auditorium.
I think you might have seen we are celebrating their special day too. We're giving them rounds of applause, we're giving them cheers, and we're giving the students who are graduating who might be scared or uncomfortable to show their voice a safe place to do it. So what we are not doing is trying to take away from their day at all. We are so proud of them, and many of us here are grads as well, or people who are graduating today and tomorrow.
For the second straight day, a flag was raised at City Hall this morning. It's that of the Thunder Bay District Injured Workers Support Group, which is celebrating 40 years of activism. The group has spent that time advocating for employees' rights, working to remove barriers for those who've been injured on the job here in Ontario. Organizers note the group has been recognized as one of the most dedicated of its kind in the country. The flag was raised ahead of the Canada-wide Injured Workers Day on Saturday.
We are advocating and fighting for injured workers, people hurt on the job, but not just that, standing up for all injured workers and representing those that have passed, that have been killed on the job as well. So it's a very important day for us, and to have it recognized by the government, that's what we're trying to do here today.
And this week is also National Accessibility Week.
There's a new raffle in Thunder Bay that really goes the distance. The RFDA has launched its meal ticket lottery with 2 vehicles as the grand prizes to help drive out hunger. A 2024 Nissan Frontier Pro 4X and a 2024 Kia Niro EV Wind are the feature prizes. But those are just some of the $150,000 worth of prizes overall. Tickets are available now for $50 apiece, with only 7,500 being sold. All of the funds will go towards RFDA programs and projects to help reduce food insecurity here in the Northwest.
The early bird draw is going to be June 17th, just in time for Father's Day, and then the grand prize draw is going to take place on October 11th.
Tickets can be purchased online at foodbanksnorthwest.ca or by calling the RFDA.
And of course, that's a great cause, especially
Absolutely.
with the cost of everything getting so much more expensive. The services of the
Yes.
RFDA are needed now
Yes.
more than ever. All right, let's turn our attention to the weather now, Fiona. And it's a great day when we can get up into the 20s. Love to see it.
I'm always happy when I can make you happy. that is my goal, and I did my best. We had a nice day yesterday, and you weren't here to enjoy it, so I'm glad you're here for 22 Celsius. That's a little above normal for this time of year, so we'll take that. Under mainly sunny skies, that was after an early morning low of 2, and winds for the most part, we'll say averaging from the southeast, 9 all the way up to 35 kilometers an hour. Now, to the west, early morning lows hovered around 9 to 10 Celsius through Fort Francis, Kenora, Red Lake. Their daytime highs in the low 20s, and there was a lot of sunshine. It's just been in the last hour or two that the clouds are starting to roll in. Further east, we've got similar temperatures at this time, but it was much cooler in the morning. Overnight lows started at 1 Celsius, just 1 degree above the freezing mark. Greenstone is still enjoying lots of sunshine. Sault Ste. Marie saw the clouds start to roll in just in the last hour or two. Now you'll notice along the lakeshore, it's markedly cooler, 17 in Nipigon, 14 in Marathon, just 12 in Wawa, and that's because the winds have been blowing off the lake in each region and keeping things much, much cooler. We've also got this system that we've been keeping an eye on. It's been moving a little slower than originally anticipated. We expected by now it would be a little bit further eastward. It is working its way in. That's what's been bringing some of the clouds in the last couple of hours to the west, and that's what is going to potentially bring a risk of showers throughout the region, and yes, to Thunder Bay as well. So tonight, we will drop down to a low of 6. We'll start with clear skies and then partly cloudy around midnight and overnight. We are looking at about a 60% chance of showers by the time you get up. So it'll be first thing in the morning, not really expecting rain overnight, and winds will start out a little bit gusty, up to 40 kilometers per hour from the southeast, but it will taper off as the night progresses. Now, this bit of rain, probably not a bad thing after a couple of very sunny, warm days. The weekend's kind of looking a little bit half and half, but all in all, I think it might have enough to satisfy pretty much everybody.
Okay, well, I like the positive spin that you put on there. All right, thanks a lot, Fiona. All right, when we return, we're going to turn our attention to New York City. Some absolutely major news coming out there. Former U.S. President Donald Trump has become the first president to be convicted of felony charges. In fact, he was convicted of all 34 felony counts against him. Remember, he was accused of falsifying business records to pay off Stormy Daniels ahead of the 2016 election, and he has been found guilty. We'll have all the details when your NewsHour returns right after the break.